Of the New York fatalities. Here again is this photograph. The building on the left is about to be hit by the hijacked incoming plane.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
A ball of flame envelops the second of the World Trade Center towers. Untold death and destruction, as after being hit by the second plane, the second tower eventually collapsed after the some of this video is just now become available. In the aftermath, even with us, you know what happens. We're going to try to re-rack. That's the opposite side of the second tower hit. Now, we had different views.
Please keep walking, folks. They're going to be medevaking people. Please walk.
where they are beginning to evacuate buildings. And then there is also another decision by the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration. No planes are going to be allowed to take off from any airport in this entire country. All planes, no planes will be taking off today. They have made a decision to stop all air traffic control, all air traffic.
Marcia, we got to interrupt you. We just saw live from Chopper 2 yet another explosion. Did anybody, Janine, what did you see? You saw, was it an airplane or was it a?
It looked like part of the building If not, most of the top collapsed, and all the debris from the building was falling down towards the
Look
ground.
at the smoke. Look at the smoke. This is
The whole
unbelievable.
building, did it collapse?
Do we have Jim Smith available on microphone from Chopper 2 as he takes these pictures? Jim?
Yes, I am here, Michael.
Jim, tell us what's happening out there.
Oh my
We just
gosh.
witnessed some kind of secondary follow-up explosion on the World Trade Center number 2, the one that is on the
Everybody.
south that is difficult to make.
On tape, happening 18 minutes after the first impact,
And then,
was the fire at the Pentagon.
right, about 9:30 this morning.
Also
And this is
confirmed,
the
at
collapse.
least
We're
from the
showing you, this
Associated
is the
Press.
collapse, ladies and gentlemen, on videotape. The collapse that just happened. Unbelievable.
Let's go to Marcia Kramer now in the newsroom as she watches what you're seeing at home right now. Marcia?
Well, the real concern right now for New York City emergency rescue squads is to get people on the ground away from that scene as soon as possible. If you live in the area, if you live in Battery Park City or any of the other in that area, you should leave the area. You should evacuate the area and get away from the scene.
There was a truck further up Pentagon. Pardon me? They hit the Pentagon. They hit the Pentagon? Plane was all out fucking war. They hit the Pentagon. No, this is all out war. This is all out war. You think the Pentagon would be on fucking high alert? You were awesome. Great job. You were oh shit. Hello. Take him! Take him! Are we rolling? Let's get out of here.
Something caved in. It's a collapse. I need some water.
Guys! I'm gonna bring you to the command post. Fire department command post. Mark V, where are you? Mark V, where are you? Sit down. These mics have been slow. Slow breaths. Take a couple slow breaths. Clear out here. Joe. You need to work in there. What happened?
What? The building collapsed. Part of the building collapsed. At least that's what I think happened. Everybody's running like.
Take him!
Are we rolling?
Let's get out of here. Move back, move back!
I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna hug my wife. I'm gonna thank God I'm alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where's your... Over here. Over here. Over here. Try to catch everybody. Over here. I'm holding you. I'm here. We're sending everybody towards the water. Fucking nuts, you going in there, bro. Get out!
Where you at?
I was on the 81st floor.
Tell me what you saw and heard.
It just somehow had 40 people in there. Just an explosion. There's just light flash out my window. My whole doorway to the entrance of my office blew open. My office was freaking out. I just told them to calm down and get to the center of the office. Everybody was fine on my floor, and we just started heading down the stairs. I heard people were trapped in the bathroom. I ran to the bathroom. It was just blown out. I asked if anybody was in there. People weren't in there. So I started going down the steps. I heard people shouting. I stopped at like 68, and there's a woman in a wheelchair, and I got her in the strapped wheelchair and just carried her down the steps and carried her down 68 floors, man. And then we got lost on the 5th floor. It was chaos. It was just,
What do you work for?
Network Plus communications company out of Randolph, Mass.
How do you spell it?
Mike Benfanti, B-E-N-F-A-N-T-E.
Thank you, Mike.
It's chaos, man.
It collapsed. The top floors collapsed down. I saw it blow and then ran like hell. Thank God. I'm 69, but I can still run. There's got to be firemen trapped back there, though.
What'd you see?
Everything. I saw chaos. It's just chaos out here. It really is. So the Twin Towers fall. It's amazing. It's crazy. Can't believe this shit is happening. I really can't. It's nightmares. Armageddon right here. I'll find the other brothers. Just respond. Get you guys down to fresh air.
Withstanding tower number 1, just we saw some kind of explosion, a lot of smoke come out of the top of the tower, and then it collapsed down onto the streets below, much like we saw the first tower just about a half hour ago.
Gosh, this is an unbelievable, it's incredible, incredulous.
Truly, as you're looking at the at what there is of the Manhattan skyline at this point, the two most prominent landmarks, the World Trade Centers, now reduced to a pile of rubble and ash.
And there is not anything recognizable of what were the two trade towers, nothing standing out from those clouds of dust at this time.
My goodness.
Primary day here in New York has been canceled, and again, American Airlines reporting that they have lost 164 people, passengers and crew, dead after their planes have been apparently hijacked.
As if it were a weapons of mass destruction attack on the United States, a scenario that they have played out many times here before. Now, I want to stress that thus far, they don't have a clear plan, but
4 aircraft hijacked, 1 hit a World Trade Center tower, and then another, and then the World Trade Center towers collapsed. Another hijacked plane hit the Pentagon in Washington, and then yet another hijacked commercial aircraft, all of them bound from the East Coast to the West Coast, went down in a fairly remote area about 80 miles from Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. No one has claimed responsibility for these bombings. This is the scene in Lower Manhattan as the following continues. The 2 towers of the World Trade Center are down, destroyed, completely collapsed in separate avalanches, 1 then 2, of steel and concrete. Now, the World Trade Center complex includes 7 buildings. 2 other buildings in the World Trade Center complex just a short while ago were reported to still be in flames and in danger of collapsing. Some people are said to be alive in the collapsed debris of the World Trade Center and got out of the building, extremely quickly. But how many lives were saved and how many were lost, we simply don't know in this unprecedented show of terrorist horror. The World Trade Center towers were 110 stories high. They collapsed in this shower of rubble and debris that you now see. Some people were forced out of the building. Some leapt, forced out at very high floors and leaped to their death.
Bloody, and he was trying to shoot and set up some of these shots there. The firefighters, the police, the crews, the people streamed toward me as I made my way to the Trade Center, sobbing and crying and trying to call home on dead cell phones, but they couldn't get through.
President Bush said the United States has taken all appropriate steps to protect the American people. The President says that we will hunt down and punish those responsible for the attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. If you're saying to yourself, well, I've heard at least one American president say that before, you are correct. That President Clinton said that after the first attack on the World Trade Center. and a bloody mess of unprecedented proportions in this country. New York City Mayor Rudolph Giuliani, quote, "The number of casualties will be more than most of us can bear." He declined to speculate on what the death toll might be.
That part of the building, the front part, into the lower ground, yes, the ground was covered with steel, glass, paper from those floors, yes.
You had to be frightened.
Yes, I was.
Yeah. Describe that feeling. I mean, here you are. You're actually there. We're looking at it. We're looking at these pictures here, which are just horrific. This looks like downtown Beirut a few years ago. Rudolph Giuliani said it looks like it was bombed during World War II or something.
Next thing, when we got up there, as soon as we lost power, I heard it, somebody gave an urgent, and next thing we know, we're just dragging some people. I came down with two guys. I was sharing my mask with two other guys. And we just made it out, then we made it out here, the tower blew.
Were you caught in the explosion down below?
Yes, I was. I found a mask on one of the fire trucks on the floor. That's how I was able to get out, crawling up the highway here.
What was it like being under that?
I'll tell you something. I was never in Vietnam, but it just seems like I'm being in a war. This is terrible. We lost tons of guys. We lost tons of guys.
What was the scene like?
Oh, it was chaos. It's something out of a movie. I just hope I never go through anything like this again.
Just like the building came just rumbling down. It was like a war zone. It was just unbelievable.
How did you not get hit with debris?
I ran in another building. Came out that way. And then when the second one went down, it was just like, it was a nightmare. Couldn't see, everything was totally black. You were just walking, hoping to find daylight. It was just unbelievable. I never seen anything like it in my life.
I'll stay with him. Okay.
I'll go, bro.
Where? All right. EMS going to turn on the right. Paulie? We got a bus. Move out of the way. Let's go. Come on. Make a hole. Give him room to breathe. Make a hole. Make a hole. The other side of the barrier. The other side. Up there. On the other side. Come on. Right through there. Heads up.
And the American Red Cross is one of those places you can contact to do that. This is a scene from outside St. Vincent's Hospital, an old hospital with a marvelous reputation in New York, and a great reputation particularly for dealing with emergency situations. But of course, no one has ever seen an emergency situation to match this one. And as you watch these photographs of the effort to help the wounded, let us say that according to the Associated Press, the United States government suspects Osama bin Laden in terrorist attacks, and the Associated Press quotes 2 U.S. officials. They don't say at what level those officials were. However, this is just more of what we've had during the day. And New York hospitals are overwhelmed with the casualties. In Bellevue Hospital, every available doctor, nurse, orderly.
Hundreds of people working downtown. They're working on electric, gas, and steam systems, working to put them online. They're also still assessing the extent of the damage, and they're working with city and state agencies.
This is the scene we came upon 20 blocks north of the Trade Center. Row upon row of ambulances from all around New York and its suburbs.
Today is obviously one of the most difficult days in the history of the city and the country. The tragedy that we're all undergoing right now is something that we've had nightmares about, but probably thought wouldn't happen. My heart goes out to all of the innocent victims of this horrible and vicious act of terrorism, acts of terrorism. And our focus now has to be on saving as many lives as possible and to send a message that the city of New York and the United States of America is much stronger than any group of barbaric terrorists, that our democracy, that our rule of law, that our strength and our willingness to defend ourselves will ultimately prevail.
The people of New York are not only the freest and most diverse people in the world, we're also, I believe, the most capable of rising to meet the challenges of this type of attack. And right now we want New Yorkers to remain calm, to go about their business, to appreciate the fact that everything to provide for their safety is being done, to appreciate that everything that can be done to provide for the health and the needs of the people who are still at risk is being done, and that we will continue to work to make sure that we get through this as strongly and quickly as possible.
At the moment, what was needed was blood. The city already had a shortage, and now the need was critical. Within an hour, New Yorkers lined up down city blocks to donate.
I'm here just to donate some blood because I feel I'm doing something.
Frustrated Americans, angry, wanting to do something.
I think everyone in these lines feels citywide. There's a great camaraderie and brotherhood in the city, and everyone's doing what they can, and what we can do to help is give blood. Most of us have no other option, so that's why we're here.
What's going through your mind right now?
they're accomplishing their goal. We are almost terrified.
It's scary. It's scary, and it's just that we are so unprepared for this.
As SWAT
The state is feeling vulnerable. Fearing the nation's second largest city might also be a target, workers fled downtown high-rises, leaving the heart of Los Angeles a ghost town. City government, law enforcement, indeed the entire city was on high alert.
We believe that whatever could have happened in New York could very likely happen here.
The entire West was on alert. The Transamerica Pyramid in San Francisco, even Seattle's Space Needle closed down, leaving tourists stuck.
This is not a battle between the United States of America and terrorism, but between the free and democratic world and terrorism.
Palestinian Authority President Yasser Arafat condemned the attacks.
First of all, I am offering my condolences, the condolences of the Palestinian people to the American President, President Bush, to his government, to the American people for this terrible act.
And yet, new bellows of the horrible smoke and the stench from the smoke began to fill lower Manhattan all anew.
Flash off, please.
And since then, the most recent collapse, which happened just a short while ago, Building 7, a 47-story building as part of the World Trade Center complex, collapsed. That building had been, we were told, completely evacuated. But the fate of people on the ground, including rescue workers, as it came tumbling down, we simply don't know. But it had been threatening to collapse, had been on the verge of collapse for a long while, so perhaps most of the area had been evacuated. But who could have anticipated this kind of incredibly dense and fast-moving smoke, which covers many blocks?
And was going to collapse. That appears to be what has happened now. I don't know exactly how many stories the building is, Dan, but standing at the base of it, watching it burn about an hour ago, it looked to be something on the order of 50, 60 stories, as you said, a very, very large office building. And I don't know whether they were able to evacuate all of the...
In a news conference in which one of the leaders of fire department union and a fire department official, sorts at least, indicated that there are 300 New York City firemen missing.
By nightfall, the mayor of New York City made his way to the scene to assess the damage and boost morale. Heavy hitters and heavy equipment have been hauled in to help. Where the Twin Towers used to be, a slow, confusing search for life is underway.
They're going to be working all night on the rubble,
trying to find body recovery, trying to find people that are still alive underneath everything.
Today, we've had a national tragedy. Two airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country. I have spoken to the Vice President, to the Governor of New York, to the Director of the FBI, and have ordered that the full resources of the federal government go to help the victims and their families, and to conduct a full-scale investigation to hunt down and to find those folks who committed this act. Freedom itself was attacked this morning by a faceless coward, and freedom will be defended. I want to reassure the American people that the full resources of the federal government are working to assist local authorities to save lives and to help the victims of these attacks. Make no mistake, the United States will hunt down and punish those responsible for these cowardly acts. Good evening. Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts. The victims were in airplanes or in their offices. Secretaries, businessmen and women, military and federal workers, moms and dads, friends and neighbors. Thousands of lives were suddenly ended by evil, despicable acts of terror. The pictures of airplanes flying into buildings, fires burning, huge structures collapsing, have filled us with disbelief, terrible sadness, and a quiet, unyielding anger. The search is underway for those who are behind these evil acts. I've directed the full resources of our intelligence and law enforcement communities to find those responsible and to bring them to justice. We will make no distinction between the terrorists who committed these acts and those who harbor them.
Remains of countless victims and the whispers of survivors still alive.
Is where fatigued firefighters had been searching through the night and into the morning and helped rescue a Port Authority sergeant trapped under the rubble.
He was in a lot of pain. He was in there for quite a while, but he made it and they brought him out, so he'll get to go home and see his family. And that's the worst thing, knowing that guys like me and you who have families, they're not going to see them anymore. So that's the hardest thing, because when you have children, that's all you live for. And these poor guys, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of children without fathers right now.
What you've seen, what is it?
Like nothing I've ever seen. I've never thought I'd see this in my entire life. Total devastation. Total devastation.
And there have been a lot of people, dozens of people who have come here all day long trying to get to work, trying to get to wherever it is in Lower Manhattan, but they have been unable to. A lot of the residents who live in this area have had to show residents' ID to make sure that these people actually live here. But for some, they didn't have the ID.
As well, to try to get an update on where we are and as far as rescue efforts and what the government is going to provide.
And we understand the USS George Washington is now off the coast of New York City near Robert Moses State Park, which is on Fire Island. Also, they are sending the USS John F. Kennedy, and these both are going to have 2,500 to 3,000.
All of the newspapers and other kinds of papers that are on the ground. You see some of the still stunned and quieted searchers, awed by what they see. Now, by realizing that those huge two towers, 110 stories high, were no longer over 78, maybe 80 police officers and countless other civilians. They have been finding survivors. For example, this morning they pulled out a Port Authority police officer, a sergeant, as well as at least 5 other people, firefighters, New York City firefighters, who had gone in cell phone messages as well as messages typed on computers. So that's a good news as to the possibility of finding things. But if you look, and the camera now shows you the array of vehicles that are
on hand to treat the injuries of any survivors who were found. And that, of course, is mission number 1. Where they are all ultimately headed is the center of destruction, the eerie wasteland engulfed in an ominous yellow-tinged cloud, where even the buildings still stand.
I'm doing this because this is America, this is New York, and these people need people down there right now. I know if I was in there, they'd be in there trying to dig me out. You know, we need each other right now. This is one of the worst times for America. This is one of the worst times for New York, something nobody will ever forget.
Catch up in that rank.
For our country, September 11 will always be a date of sorrow, the heartbreaking anniversary of great loss that we share with 91 nations. But the memories of those we lost will burn with unending brightness and ignite a flame of freedom that lights the world.
For spacious skies, for